Hey everyone, I'm Colette from Witchways, and today we're going to talk about why spells don't work. I'm going to share some of the most common reasons that spells don't work and a few things that you can do about it. I hope you enjoy. Magic is powerful, but it's not instant wish fulfillment. So be aware of magical timing. Give the spell enough time to work when you ask for things. And so, for example, if you do a prosperity spell right now, it's very unlikely that $1,000,000 will show up on your doorstep tomorrow. I would say that might be physically impossible unless there is a real possibility looming of that happening and you're just like trying to give it a little nudge. Now, that's one of the things I want to say about magic. It's an influence. It's like putting your thumb on the scales. It helps tip the scales in your favor. It can help bring in opportunities, help shift your energy, clear blocks, but there does have to be a possible road to your wish or spell being fulfilled. It can be highly improbable. It can border on being a miracle, but it does have to be physically possible, especially again around timing. The second reason that spells fail is lack of clarity, and that includes being clear within yourself about what you actually want. Emotion can be read in the spirit world, often easier than words. So can symbols. So make sure you're clear emotionally. So if you're calling in love into your life, be clear. Do you want a long-term partner? Are you just interested in a little more fun in your life romantically? Do you want to heal your own heart first? Get clear emotionally on what you want. Magic responds best to clear direction, not vague longing. Take the time to get really specific. Write down a lot of things about what you think you might want and then boil it down to a simple sentence. I always feel like it's good to add a caveat like this or better so that you don't limit your options to the most that you can imagine, especially if you're in a period of growth. This is also a good place to talk about why love spells in particular fail really often. It's simple. It requires another person. It doesn't just give you an opportunity or an edge or clear the way for you. It's another person has to be totally on board with the intention and willing to take the risk, being willing to step up to the plate. Another reason might be that the people that show up might not look like how you imagined they would look like, especially if you're in a period of change in your life, and so you don't see them or give them a chance. I always feel like taking a physical action after you do a spell is a really good way to bring that magic out into the world and show the spirit world what you need. Magic works hand in hand with the practical. You can do all the prosperity spells you want, but if you aren't looking for work or you have other barriers to getting a job or getting money, the magic has nowhere to land. The mundane actions are part of the magic. And one of the differences between witchcraft and New Age traditions is that witches do look at what's happening in the actual world. We are practical. So here I want to say that many people have more privilege and resources that aren't available to others. Your options could be limited for making money for any number of reasons. So be aware, even with magic, the bigger culture can make a real impact on how well your spells work. I learned this really young when I was really struggling, trying to bring money, living back on the land communally back in the day, where the majority of people were trust funders. And I'd be really struggling with money, and they're like, it's really easy. You just put your intention out there, and then I call my parents, and it's like a miracle. Suddenly I have money. And I'm like, yeah, intergenerational wealth is not a thing for everyone. Another reason spells might not work could be skill level. Some magic is just more advanced and requires experience. So, for example, banishing a really persistent spirit can be tricky and advanced. Or protecting yourself or another person in an actual physical emergency when adrenaline is really running, if you don't have a lot of experience with grounding and centering yourself. So if you're just starting out, you may not yet have the focus, the grounding, or the magical muscle in order to make the spell work. That doesn't mean you failed. It just means that you're still learning. Start with easier foundational practices like grounding, centering, working with offerings, working with your own energy, doing really simple spells. The stronger your foundation, the more often you practice those basic skills, the stronger and more likely to succeed your spells will be. Sometimes we cast a spell, but deep down there might be an old story that tells us that we can't get it. Or we might carry fear, doubt, or shame that gets in the way of us raising energy towards what we desire. For example, you might do a love spell but feel unworthy of love, or have just had very, very bad experiences romantically in the past and you're trying to change that. This is where working with therapists can really help. Journaling, healing practices can also help, and banishing old stories can really help once you identify them. You can absolutely do magic whenever you need to without aligning everything up with the right moon phase or the right season. But if you're a beginner, it's easier and perhaps more likely to work if you do align things up with moon phases and seasonal magic. For example, doing spells around growth and increase and bringing things in is a lot more likely to work during the waxing moon. Spells for releasing and banishing are easier done under a waning moon. Seasonal energies matter as well. Spring for beginnings, autumn for endings, Samhain for final death, working with the ancestors. And when you can, or things aren't lining up, you can compensate by working with other influences, by calling on planets, planetary hours, calling on spirit helpers, adding herbs to your spell. Or you can also rephrase the way you're doing your spell or reframe it to align with what is happening seasonally or with the moon. So for example, if you want to bring something in during a waning moon, instead of asking for growth and increase, you can ask for blocks that stand in your way to receiving that growth or prosperity be released or banished. Another thing that helps spells work is to call on spirit helpers. A lot of witches work with ancestors, deities, land spirits, and other spirit helpers. You don't have to work with spirits if you don't want to, and it is good to go slow when you're a beginner, but building relationship with spirits is like building friendships. Make sure to keep it reciprocal. Go slow, and over time, a lot of good things will happen. Often, if you're trying something magically and it's not working out in your life, you can do some divination and ask spirit helpers what their perspective is to see how to approach that spell in a different way. Also, spirit helpers can see roads that we can't, and so spirits can often make the improbable possible. Another reason that spells sometimes don't work has to do with cultural context. Some spells come from very specific cultural backgrounds. When these spells get published or passed on, the cultural context is often missing, deleted, as important, or completely misunderstood. Some of the spells you run across will actually be from closed traditions, where the way the magic works is it comes down through the ancestral lineage. The ancestors are actually what make the magic work. So trying to work with that isn't going to work because you aren't of that ancestry and that lineage. It can also potentially be disrespectful to that tradition. Not every spell is for everyone, and it doesn't need to be. Work with traditions that you're connected to, or learn about practices that are open to all. And I want to say here that my practice is open to everyone of any ancestry or lineage. Magic takes time. Give it that time to work. If you don't have the time, make that clear when you write your intention, and the magic will do its best. Try not to obsess about it. In some styles of magic, there's kind of a tradition of forget about it once you've done the spell. Set it, forget it, walk away. And also try not to critique or trash your spell after you've done it. This doesn't mean that a little analysis down the road, looking it over, seeing what you could have done better, isn't warranted. It just means wait, let the magic settle, see how it plays out, and then do your analysis. And as a teacher, I do a lot of work around sharing info about how to do spells and rituals and ceremonies. So if you're pushing your limits or trying something new, be aware that you might be really tired afterward. And that tiredness can make you self-doubt or critique yourself. So instead of questioning your work or how well you did it in the moment, I think it's really important, again, to rest, relax, see how things play out, take positive feedback from others, and then later, maybe evaluate how well it worked. I think this is a really important step and one that is not often talked about. The self-doubt that comes in when you're tired and pushing your limits. It's just true that not all spells work, or they may not work for you or for everybody. Make some mistakes. I don't love it, but I've learned a lot from my mistakes in general, in life and in witchcraft. Witchcraft is a practice and it's very individualistic. Over time, you'll find what works for you and what aligns with your experience and interest, and that's the most important thing. So if you found this video today helpful, I'd really appreciate if you would like, subscribe, and share. I'd love to hear what works for you and what doesn't. Also, if you want to learn more about what I offer or go deeper with your magic, check out my links in the description for Patreon, newsletter, and blogs. So until next time, stay safe and be well.